Professor Tejo's tentacles waved in the air as he pointed to the holographic images. The lecture hall was full of students and scholars from across the galaxy. Everyone watched as the images showed ancient texts describing creatures called humans. These stories appear in the folklore of 12 different civilizations, Tejo explained. They all describe bipedal beings from a planet called Earth. These humans supposedly had remarkable adaptability and strange emotional responses. But make no mistake, they are merely cultural metaphors, not actual historical beings. The audience nodded in agreement, except for one young xenoarchaeologist sitting in the back row. Jinwoo clutched a small bag of artifacts to his chest. He had spent 3 cycles collecting these unusual items that matched no known species technology. After the lecture ended, most attendees filed out quickly. Jinwoo stayed behind, approaching the professor with nervous steps. Professor Tejo, I found something that might interest you, Jinwoo said, carefully placing his bag on the table. Tejo's eye membranes flickered in annoyance. Ah, Jinwoo. Still chasing myths, I see. Jinwoo pulled out a small metal device. It was unlike anything in the official records. Look at this design. The grip is perfect for a 5-fingered hand with an opposable digit. None of the known species have this exact configuration. Tejo picked up the object with the tip of one tentacle. An interesting anomaly, nothing more. Perhaps it belonged to the Zentari before their evolutionary shift. But the Zentari historical records show no technology like this, Jinwoo argued. And I found this too. He produced a small data crystal that glowed with a soft blue light. Where did you find these items? Tejo asked, suddenly more interested. An unmarked debris field near the Oort cloud in the abandoned sector. The area matches old stories about where Earth might have been. Tejo's skin darkened in disapproval. You traveled to the restricted sector? That was foolish and dangerous. But worth it, Jinwoo insisted. There's something else. He activated a small projector. This was stored on the crystal. A series of images appeared, beings standing on 2 legs, with 2 arms, and faces unlike any known species. They were building structures, creating art, and using tools. Clever forgeries, Tejo said, but his voice wavered slightly. The crystal's composition dates it to over 10,000 cycles ago, Jinwoo said. That predates any known forgery techniques. Tejo stared at the images. Even if these artifacts are authentic, they don't prove humans existed. They could be from any number of extinct species. Jinwoo activated the final image, a map showing stellar configurations that matched no known star charts. This matches the theoretical location of the solar system from the myths. The Galactic Council will never accept this, Tejo said, his voice quieter now. Humans have been used as cautionary tales for generations. If they were real, we would need to rewrite our understanding of galactic history, Jinwoo finished. That night, Jinwoo returned to his small laboratory. His colleague Minji was waiting for him with excitement in her 4 eyes. Did you show him? What did he say? She asked. He dismissed it, just like everyone else, Jinwoo said, setting down his bag. But I could tell he was unsettled. Minji helped Jinwoo arrange the artifacts on his workbench. The council won't be able to ignore this evidence forever. Jinwoo picked up another item from his collection, a small rectangular device with a glass surface. This one shows signs of advanced electronic components, but the design is completely unique. It was made for hands like those in the images. The legends say humans could adapt to almost any environment, Minji said. They say that's what made them dangerous. Or remarkable, Jinwoo countered. Think about it, a species that could thrive anywhere, solve problems in ways we've never considered. The laboratory door slid open unexpectedly. Professor Tejo entered, looking around nervously. I've been thinking about your findings, he said quietly. There's something you should see. Tejo removed a small datapad from his robes and displayed an ancient text. This comes from the restricted archives. It describes a great conflict involving beings that match your humans. It says they were scattered across the stars. Jinwoo looked at the text with wide eyes. If humans survived somewhere, then they might still exist, Taeho finished. The council has always treated these stories as myths for a reason, Jinwoo. They fear what would happen if such beings returned. As the three gathered around the ancient text, none of them noticed the small light blinking on Jinwoo's rectangular artifact. For the first time in thousands of cycles, the human device had detected a signal. Ambassador Hyori stood at the massive observation window, her four eyes fixed on the starfield. The monitoring station had been her home for 15 cycles, watching the silent, empty sector where legends claimed Earth once existed. Nothing ever happened here. Until today. Ambassador, we've picked up unusual signals from the uncharted region, Do-Hyun said, rushing to her side. The young technician's skin was flushed purple with excitement. It doesn't match any known communication patterns. Hyori followed him to the central console where energy signatures pulsed across the screen. Could it be natural phenomena? A pulsar perhaps? No, Ambassador. The pattern is too regular, too intentional. Do-Hyun's fingers flew across the controls. We've traced it to a small celestial body at the edge of the debris field. The Council had always dismissed this region as unimportant. Just ancient space debris and cosmic dust. Nothing worth investigating. Dispatch a scout ship, Hyori ordered. Minimum crew. Maximum sensors. 3 days later, Hyori and Do-Hyun watched the scout ship's transmission with growing disbelief. The small planetoid should have been barren, but instead showed signs of habitation structures, energy signatures, and atmospheric modifications. We're being hailed, reported Captain Juno from the scout ship. They're using an extremely old communication frequency. Hyori steadied herself against the console. Accept the transmission. The screen flickered, and for the first time in recorded history, the galaxy saw a human. The being had 2 eyes, a mouth with flat teeth, and was covered in soft-looking external tissue instead of proper scales for carapace. This is Director Sunmi of Haven Outpost, the human said. We've been expecting someone to find us eventually. The silence in the monitoring station was absolute. Hyori struggled to find her voice. I am Ambassador Hyori of the Galactic Council. You are, human? The being on screen smiled, showing more teeth. Yes. We are the descendants of Earth refugees who escaped before our homeworld's destruction. We've maintained this outpost in secret for generations, rebuilding our civilization. The scout team was invited to land, and Hyori watched through their cameras as they entered the human settlement. It was small but remarkably efficient. Structures adapted to the harsh environment in ways no council architects had ever considered. Our ancestors believed it was safer to remain hidden while we recovered, Sunmi explained as she led the visitors through their community. The records indicated that several species considered us dangerous. You were thought to be myths, Do-Hyun said through the scout team's communication link. Stories to frighten children. Sunmi laughed, a strange, musical sound. We have similar stories about you. The humans demonstrated technologies that shocked the scout team. They had developed methods to survive with minimal resources, reclaiming and repurposing materials in ways that defied conventional engineering principles. This water filtration system works at 93% efficiency, reported the scout team's engineer. That's 20% better than our best models. Hyori fought to maintain diplomatic composure. How many of you are there? Just over 5,000 on this outpost, Sunmi replied. But we're not alone. We've established 12 similar settlements throughout this sector, communicating through quantum entanglement to avoid detection. That's impossible, Do-Hyun whispered. That technology is theoretical at best. Not for us, Sunmi said, having overheard. Necessity drove our innovation. As the tour continued, Medical Officer Miho from the scout team made a startling discovery. Ambassador, these humans have extraordinary regenerative capabilities. They can recover from injuries that would be fatal to most council species. The most astonishing revelation came when the humans showed their historical archives. Records of Earth, its cultures, technologies, and knowledge preserved despite the planet's destruction. The Council must be informed immediately, Hyori said, her mind reeling with the implications. Before departing, Captain Juno asked the question everyone had been avoiding. Why reveal yourselves now, after hiding for so long? Sunni's expression grew serious. Because we've detected something entering the galaxy, something ancient and dangerous that our ancestors encountered before. We can't face it alone. Neither can you. As the scout ship departed, Hyori began drafting her report to the Council. How would she explain that the most notorious mythological species in galactic history was not only real but had been watching from the shadows all along? On the observation deck, Dohyan stared at the small planetoid growing distant. Do you think the Council will welcome them? I don't know, Hyori admitted. But one thing is certain, the galaxy will never be the same again. Minsu had never seen the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council so packed. Delegates from all 217 member species crowded into the enormous space, their varied anatomies creating a living tapestry of colors and forms. Today was historic, the formal introduction of humans to galactic society. Can you see anything? Asked Jaya, her sensory stalks extended to their full height. Just barely, Minsu replied, shifting his position. The Kavarian delegation is blocking most of my view. A hush fell over the hall as the massive doors slid open. 5 humans entered, led by their diplomat Wu Jin. They walked on 2 legs with a steady, balanced gait that seemed oddly efficient. Their bodies were wrapped in formal attire that concealed much of their skin, though their faces and hands remained visible. They're so exposed, whispered a nearby delegate. No scales, no exoskeleton. I heard they're filled with liquid, another added. Like walking water sacks. Council leader Yunji rose from her central platform. Her translucent membranes fluttered as she spoke. We welcome the human delegation to the Galactic Council. For many cycles, your kind existed only in ancient stories. Today, we acknowledge your place among the stars. Wu Jin stepped forward and bowed, a gesture unfamiliar to most present. On behalf of humanity, we thank you for this welcome. We have much to learn from each other. The formal ceremonies lasted for hours. Minsu watched with growing fascination as the humans navigated the complex diplomatic protocols with unexpected ease. They showed no discomfort in the Council's standard atmosphere, despite it containing gas mixtures calibrated for the average of all member species. Later, at the cultural exchange banquet, the real shock came. Demon, a muscular Chronox warrior known for their superior strength, challenged one of the humans to a friendly competition. Let us test your endurance, Demon said, placing a heavy ceremonial weight on the table. We will each hold this at arm's length. Last to lower their arm wins. The human, named Hannah, smiled and accepted the challenge. The gathered diplomats watched with interest as the contest began. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Demon's arm began to tremble visibly. Impossible, muttered Jaya to Minsu. The Chronox have triple-density muscle fibers. At 30 minutes, Demon finally yielded, lowering the weight with a grunt of disbelief. Hannah held on for another minute before placing it down gently. How? Demanded Demon. Humans evolved as persistence hunters, Hannah explained. We can't match your initial strength, but we can sustain effort for extraordinary periods. The demonstration caused immediate murmuring throughout the hall. Council Security Chief Kijin moved closer to Minsu's position. That's not even their most concerning trait, Kijin said quietly. Their problem-solving approaches defy conventional patterns. As if on cue, the humans demonstrated this ability during the cultural exchange exercise. When presented with a traditional sectoid logic puzzle designed to take hours, Wu Jin solved it in minutes by approaching it from an angle no one had considered. They think sideways, observed Jaya with growing unease. Not everyone watched with admiration. Counselor Yunji huddled with her advisors in a corner, their expressions grim. If these humans spread throughout the galaxy, applying these abilities to various fields. Minsu approached the human delegation during the refreshment period. Up close, he noticed details about their physiology, the constant micro-expressions on their faces, the quick movements of their eyes scanning everything around them. "Your adaptability is remarkable," he told Wu Jin. "Most species would struggle with the different gravity and atmospheric composition here." Wu Jin nodded. "Adaptation is central to human survival. Throughout our history, we've lived in environments ranging from frozen tundras to scorching deserts. This hall is quite comfortable by comparison." "And you did this without genetic modification?" Minsu asked, incredulous. "Mostly through behavioral and technological adaptation," Wu Jin confirmed. "Though our genetics do allow for considerable physical plasticity." As the evening progressed, cultural misunderstandings created both tense and comical moments. A human laugh startled a Malorian diplomat so severely that their defensive spines deployed, puncturing 3 decorative hovering lanterns. When the Dravik delegation performed their traditional greeting hiss, the humans instinctively stepped back before quickly correcting themselves. By the gathering's end, the Galactic Council was clearly divided. Some members surrounded the humans, fascinated by their stories and abilities. Others kept their distance, whispering concerns about the implications of human integration into galactic affairs. "They're too unpredictable," Counselor Yunji told her inner circle. "We must proceed with caution." As the humans departed for their assigned quarters, Minsu noticed Wu Jin glancing back at the council members, a knowing look in his eyes. The humans seemed fully aware of the impact their presence was having. "I think," Jaya said quietly, "that the old stories didn't exaggerate after all." Security Officer Jaehyun sprinted through the smoke-filled corridor, his breathing mask tight against his face. The explosion had ripped through the human quarter just minutes ago, destroying the central meeting hall. It was the 3rd attack in a single cycle. "Status report," he barked into his communicator. 7 injured, no fatalities, responded his deputy. The humans evacuated most people before the main charge detonated. Jaehyun arrived at the scene to find something unexpected. Instead of panic, the humans had organized themselves with remarkable efficiency. They had established a triage area, secured the perimeter, and were already collecting evidence. "How did you respond so quickly?" Jaehyun asked the human security liaison, Suyeon. "We suspected another attack was coming," she explained calmly. "After the first 2 incidents, we established emergency protocols and placed sensors throughout the quarter." "You didn't inform Central Security about these suspicions," Jaehyun said, unable to hide his surprise. Suyeon's expression hardened slightly. "We weren't sure who we could trust. The previous attacks showed knowledge of Council security patterns. The implication hung in the air between them. Someone within the Council itself might be involved." Across the city, Youngmi reviewed security footage in her private office. As head of the Special Investigation Unit, she had access to surveillance systems throughout the galactic capital. What she saw disturbed her deeply. The footage showed several prominent council members meeting secretly with known extremists, species purists who believed human integration would destroy the established galactic order. "We've confirmed their involvement," she told Ki-hyun, her military advisor. 3 council members are directly linked to the attack coordination. Ki-hyun's scaled skin darkened with concern. "This goes higher than we thought. What's remarkable is how the humans have responded." The holographic display shifted to show the human quarter. Instead of cowering or demanding protection, the humans had transformed their district into a model of defensive efficiency. Their living areas had been rearranged to create security checkpoints, communication systems rewired to prevent interception, and community watches established. "They did this in less than 2 days," Youngmi noted. "Their strategic thinking under pressure is unlike anything I've seen in 40 cycles of security work." "We underestimated them," Ki-hyun admitted. The old stories warned of their adaptability in conflict situations. Across the capital city, tensions were rising quickly. Anti-human protests grew larger each day, with demonstrators carrying signs with slogans like "Myths should stay myths" and "Protect pure evolution." At the same time, a growing movement of council species had begun to support the humans openly. Many were impressed by human resilience and innovation. Some were simply drawn to the novelty of their culture and perspectives. In the central park of the capital, these opposing groups clashed frequently. Sungo, a young communications specialist, found himself caught between protesters during his lunch break. "Humans bring chaos," shouted one group. "Humans bring progress," countered the other. The demonstration might have turned violent if not for the unexpected arrival of Wu Jin and several other human representatives. They walked calmly into the space between the opposing sides. "We understand your fears," Wu Jin addressed the anti-human protesters. "Change is difficult for all species. We don't ask for special treatment. Only the chance to contribute." His words didn't convince everyone, but the tension decreased slightly. As the crowds dispersed, Sungo approached Wu Jin. "How do you remain so composed when facing such hostility?" he asked. Wu Jin smiled slightly. "Human history is full of division and conflict, even among our own kind. We've learned that responding to fear with fear only escalates problems." In the council chambers, emergency sessions continued late into the night. Evidence of the conspiracy had been presented, forcing the arrest of several prominent members. "This crisis threatens the foundation of our cooperative society," declared acting council leader Min Jae. "But it also presents an opportunity to strengthen our principles of diversity and inclusion." Not everyone agreed. A block of traditional planets threatened to withdraw from the council entirely if humans were granted full membership rights. The most surprising development came when several technologically advanced species announced a formal alliance with humanity. The Talon, Nisik, and Varel, all respected for their scientific achievements, had recognized the unique potential humans offered. "Their cognitive approaches unlocked doors we didn't know existed," explained the Talon ambassador. "In mere months, human-Talon collaboration has solved theoretical problems that stumped us for generations." As Jaehyun finally returned to headquarters after a 20-hour shift, he found Youngmi waiting with new intelligence. "We've intercepted communications suggesting a major strike planned against the human diplomatic residence," she said grimly. "They're calling it a final solution to the human question." "Have you alerted them?" Jaehyun asked. Youngmi nodded. "They thanked us for the information, but said only, 'We're counting on it.'" "I'm not sure what they meant." Jaehyun looked out the window toward the human district. "I think our myths are about to show us why the ancient stories found them so formidable." The emergency alarms blared throughout the Norion system. Red warning lights flashed on every space station and planetary outpost. The radiation surge from the damaged quantum reactor threatened to annihilate 3 heavily populated worlds. 5 billion lives hung in the balance. "The containment field is failing faster than predicted," announced Chief Scientist Baekhyun, his voice strained as he addressed the crisis team. "We have less than 6 hours before critical failure." The greatest scientific minds in the galaxy had gathered in the emergency command center, yet none had found a solution. The quantum decay had accelerated beyond all known physical models. Traditional methods had failed repeatedly. In the corner of the vast chamber, Jaiwo studied the reactor schematics with intense focus. She had arrived with the human delegation just hours earlier, volunteering their assistance despite the lingering anti-human sentiment among many council members. "I have an approach that might work," she said, stepping forward. The room fell silent. "The problem isn't in the containment field itself. It's in how the quantum particles are behaving. We've tried every containment method in the scientific literature," Baekhyun objected. "But you've been treating the particles according to standard models," Jaiwo replied. "What if we introduce a resonance pattern that causes the particles to self-organize into a stable formation?" The other scientists looked confused. "That contradicts quantum behavior principles," one stated flatly. "Only under normal conditions," Jaiwo explained. "On Earth, we discovered exceptions to these rules when working with certain particle arrangements. It's basic chemistry from our perspective." Despite skepticism, desperation drove the team to try her solution. Jaiwu and 3 other humans quickly reprogrammed the field generators, introducing what they called a harmonic containment matrix. "Radiation levels are dropping," reported a technician in disbelief. "The decay is reversing itself." Within 2 hours, the crisis had been averted. The human solution had worked when all conventional approaches had failed. News spread quickly throughout the galaxy. 2 weeks later, the Galactic Council convened for a historic session. The Grand Chamber was filled beyond capacity as Tae Young, the newly elected council leader, addressed the assembly. "Today marks a significant moment in galactic history," he began. "The formal recognition of Earth and humanity as full members of our galactic community." The vote was not unanimous, but the majority was overwhelming. Cheers erupted from many delegations, particularly from species who had already begun collaborating with humans. The humans have demonstrated not only their unique problem-solving abilities but also their commitment to preserving life, even among those who initially rejected them, Tae Young continued. Their perspective has already advanced our understanding in multiple scientific fields. In the months that followed, human integration transformed many aspects of galactic society. Medical treatments improved dramatically as human doctors introduced approaches no other species had considered. Engineering teams developed new propulsion systems that cut travel times between distant systems by 40%. Most remarkable was the cultural exchange. Human art, music, and storytelling fascinated other species. Concepts like humor and irony, rare among most council races, became popular topics of study. Jinwoo, now appointed as head of the Cultural Exchange Program, unveiled the new Museum of Earth Heritage. The centerpiece was the collection of artifacts he had once been ridiculed for collecting. "These items are no longer proof of a myth," he told the gathered dignitaries. "They are the beginning threads of a tapestry we continue to weave together." Not everyone embraced the changes. Some planets maintained strict limits on human visitors. Conspiracy theories spread about human intentions. But with each passing cycle, resistance weakened as benefits became impossible to deny. On the anniversary of first contact, Jinwoo found himself looking through old records of Professor Taeho's dismissive lectures about fictional humans. The professor had since become one of humanity's strongest advocates after working closely with them on several research projects. "It's still strange to think we were just stories to you," said Mina, a human historian who had joined Jinwoo's team. "The most interesting stories often contain truth," Jinwoo replied. "But I never imagined that truth would change everything we thought we knew about the universe." In the council chambers, a new proposal was being discussed: joint exploration missions to regions of space previously considered too dangerous to investigate. Human adaptability combined with other species' specialized capabilities promised to unlock new frontiers. "We stand at the beginning of a renaissance," Tae Young announced to thunderous applause. "Our combined knowledge will take us further than any single species could go alone." Later that evening, as Jinwoo added the latest human artifact to the museum's collection, a simple book of Earth poetry, he reflected on how quickly mythology had become reality. The galaxy continued its ordinary rotation, but nothing would ever be quite the same again. The myths had walked among them, and the universe was better for it.